Hi, NSTA. Happy New Year. I want to start by telling you that I'm so grateful for the opportunity to showcase my classroom and my students and show you some of the great work that we're going to be doing together through the course of this unit. And I want to tell you that when I received your email that I was chosen to create this video to demonstrate what I shared with you is my philosophy of teaching, I was super excited. And then I had a couple of epiphanies. And first, when I received the email, I realized that we are in the process of wrapping up the unit that I wrote about to you. And I was in the process of thinking about making my next unit, our geology unit, a place-based unit, the unit's geologic processes. And quite honestly, it's been a little bit dry in the past and doesn't lend itself too well to kind of hands-on work that's meaningful. And so I thought it would be a great idea to try to have a place-based focus centered on something that has to do with the geology of the earth, such as hydraulic fracturing. And so winter break, new ideas for the unit that I needed to film for you. To make a long story short, I've never taught the unit in the way that I'm currently teaching it and videoed it nonetheless so that I could give you some idea of what happens in this classroom. I'm a little nervous, but I already know that my students, I can just feel their energy, no pun intended. They're super excited about what we're going to be doing. I want to set the stage for the video, what you're about to see. So during the day one clip, you'll see an introduction to our big question, which is, how does hydraulic fracturing impact water and the structure of the Earth's crust? During this clip, the students will share what they think they already know about the geology of the Earth and about hydraulic fracturing. And then additionally, they'll share wonderings that they have about both of those topics. And during the day two part of the clip, we'll discuss our working claims question. So that's the South Africa question. Should South Africa agree to allow hydraulic fracturing to occur so they are able to rely less on coal? I call that my working claims board because even at this early stage in the unit, the students have fairly strong opinions about that question and just a teeny tiny little bit of information to back up their thinking. And I love the working claims and evidence board, excuse me, because I love to see their thinking change as they get more information and collect more evidence and participate in more investigations. And in the last unit, their thoughts, they went back and forth. And I already can hear in their discussions within their groups even that, there are kids who believe South Africa should allow it and shouldn't allow it. And there are just some who say, I don't have any idea because I don't have enough information, which I love. But anyway, as I said earlier, ultimately, we're planning to connect with the Penn State students in South Africa so that we can share our thoughts with them and hope that the students' recommendations will be passed on to people who may care to hear what they have to say. The 3 clip, you'll see snippets of the students working in their groups to learn more about renewable and non-renewable resources and kind of the cost benefit of each and the advantages and disadvantages, environmental impacts, etc. I definitely wish that we were further along so you could kind of see the results of some of their investigations and the claims that they can make based on evidence. Hopefully this kind of introduction to the unit that you're about to see will give you some idea of how we share and how we roll out our thinking and things. But for now, I'm super happy that I'm able to share this with you, and I truly hope you enjoy the video at the very least. Thank you very much for the opportunity. So this unit is technically called Geologic Processes. And under the unit title, it would be awesome if you would write the essential question for the unit, which is this. Can everybody see it? It says, how does hydraulic fracking, which we learned a little tiny bit about on Friday, impact water and the structure of the Earth's crust? We're going to do sticky notes for our what do you think you know, what do you think you already know question.
Should we write that at the top?
No, you don't have to. The first question that I think that I would like to explore with you is, what do we think we already know about geology, the geology of the Earth?
Should we put it in the middle of our page?
Well, I'm going to take them. We're going to stick them on the board under the question. If that, yeah, of course. That's what you think you want to share about what you already know about Earth's geology. You could use some of your word study skills and break the word apart if you want to write that. Yep.
Wait, so logic. So it makes sense. Wait, so we write it down on our sticky note?
Write on your sticky note, not the question. Write the answer to the question.
What do you think?
I'll bring you the question.
Hasn't a geo mean something?
What do we think we already know about the geology of the Earth? What do we think we already know about the geology of the Earth? Write your very own thing. I can't wait to see what you guys each know.
I don't know that much.
Anything that you think you already know, Everett, is worthy of putting on that sticky note. Please. You got it, Adam? Are you still thinking? Are you going to write everything you think you already know?
I don't think I can do everything. No.
How about 3 things? If you have a whole bunch in your head, why don't you make it 3? I think the Earth has many layers and a lava core. Pangea was split by ocean. Who has ever heard that word, Pangea, before?
Oh, I know exactly what this is.
You all already know about Pangea?
I've heard about it, but I really don't know about it.
I think I know that the Earth spins around the sun and we live on the crust. And Mount Everest grows 1 inch every year.
Wait, it does?
Yeah. Every single year does.
Isn't
And
that like
the
rock?
Hawaii is sinking by an inch every year.
Wait, how? So it like will eventually like float.
But then there are other islands. There are other islands that are coming up.
Oh.
It's just a constant. It's just a
Okay,
constant
listen to
cycle.
that. That's
It's just a
awesome.
constant cycle.
Wait, so Mount Everest is getting like taller?
No, an inch every inch.
Wait, is that like ice
every
or like
year.
rock?
Rock.
Like rock like grow?
If it was ice, it would melt. And that means it wouldn't grow.
Yeah. It would die.
And also, it could
She
shrink.
just asked
That
an
we
awesome
eroded.
question.
Yeah.
She said, I didn't know that rocks could grow.
I didn't know that either.
Oh, isn't it like
I'm not
Aren't
confirming
they-
or denying.
aren't they
Something we're
like
gonna
not
learn.
growing? Isn't it like the earth under it like pushing up, or is it like rocks are
You know, Everett,
So-
if it was ice, it would melt, and that would make it small.
Once if you can do it. Oh, I tricked you. I think that something really cool that we should do right now, just because I hear some really great questions, is please tell me some things that you wonder now about geology and about the Earth. Things that I can put in our W category, the W column. I'm hoping beyond hope that some of these awesome questions that I heard will be answered during this unit. Oops, I'm sorry, dude. Tasia, I hope you'll write that question down. Okay, listen to these questions. There's some awesome ones. Here. Alright. We've got, can rocks grow? And how hot is the core of the Earth? I wonder how fast the Earth spins around the sun. I wonder how mountains grow. I wonder what the Earth will be like in 1,000 years. That's so cool. I wonder what the Earth will look like in another 1,000 years. I wonder how many layers are in the Earth. How can rock grow? I wonder what the Earth will be like in 44 years. Random.
I like random.
I wonder how long it takes for the tectonic plates to meet again. How can Mount Everest grow?
They're doing that right.
Will Hawaii fully sink one day?
Yes. Yes.
What is Pangea?
That's not what I remember. I thought it was moving closer.
I think plate tectonics on the Earth can move the layers of the Earth. Will the continents collide in the next couple millennia, forming another Pangea? I feel like hydraulic fracturing sounds much more scientific, and I'd like to treat our approach to studying this topic scientifically and not coming in with big opinions. I feel like when we studied the water quality issue with Ferguson, we did a good job of coming in and learning the facts before we made opinions, don't you think?
Mhm.
So this is the same deal. What's your question?
Well, whenever we're at the car wash and a hydraulic leak happens, it's really annoying cleaning it up because it's really hard and it usually gets all over the place.
Oh, so you seem like you, sir, are busting at the seams to answer our next "what do you think you already know" question. So, once you can hear me.
They have cameras that go down
That's
to
why
the center.
I would really like for you to hear the question that Cody just asked, because that is another amazing thing we're going to learn. And his question was, how does anyone know what the core of the Earth looks like? Do you think we know what the core of the Earth looks like for real?
No.
Can you write that down, please?
Unless we find out a way to like create oil.
So once again, I hear from you guys statements that I think maybe we can turn them into wonderings, like, will we run out of oil?
Yes. Wait, it's not gonna.
Let's turn that into a wondering for the wondering column.
million years to make oil.
What do you
Make
think
it
you guys are
whenever
thinking?
the dinosaurs.
You can make something exactly like it.
That's what I see. Some of these statements you are making would be wonderful things to put into as wonderings. Because I'm not sure that some of the things you said we have enough evidence to make statements about them. So, this is what do you wonder about hydraulic fracturing? What are you wondering about that process? And if that has to, when you think of hydraulic fracturing, you have questions about oil production or any other natural resources that we use for energy, write it down, that's fine. This question says, will fracking destroy the earth someday? Why do we do this? What will we do if we run out of oil? The next thing that I want to talk about with you is this question, because that's going to be our working question that we keep revisiting over and over, like we did the should Ferguson Township allow Toll Brothers to build. Do you remember that? We kept going back, and every time we got new evidence, we thought about our answer again. We're going to do the same thing for this question. We're going to revisit it multiple times with units. So I know some of you can't see the question. It says, should South Africa agree to allow hydraulic fracturing to occur so they're able to rely less on coal? Yes. You don't have to answer that yet. I'm going to just make sure that the question makes sense. Should South Africa agree to allow hydraulic fracturing to occur so they're able to rely less on coal? So people with hands up, you already have an answer or a feeling?
No. Should we write the question down?
No, I don't think that I want you to write that question down right now. I just want you to think about it. Do you have thoughts about that question, Cody?
Yeah, I think that the U.S. should send them a bunch of electrical stuff so they don't have to like use heat power, just electricity.
Well, how do you think we get electricity?
Send them a couple of batteries. Oh, outlets.
Have you guys ever stopped to think about that for a second?
I know.
Hold on 1 second. Let me just pose this thought to you. Everybody can, lots of people, but all of us, we can take this cord and just plug it into the wall, and somehow power's coming to it, right?
It's magic.
Have you ever stopped to think for a second about, similar to where does your water go when you flush your toilet? How does clean water get into your house? How is electricity coming in? How is electricity coming in? How many people have no idea and you've never really even thought about it? I've never thought about it. Today's the day. We're gonna think about it. I want to make a couple things clear to you. Hold on 1 second. South Africa has they have electricity in the same way that we do. Not all parts of South Africa have electricity, but the places where electricity is being consumed, because that's something that we use up, right? We consume it. When I say use up, I'll explain that in a little while, but South Africa also has electricity, and somehow they're using coal to get their electricity. And they're thinking about using hydraulic fracturing to get a different resource for their electricity. So, you remember those tiny little jars we looked at the very beginning of our last unit, where you kind of made observations about them and talked with your group about whether or not those were clean or dirty?
One was vinegar.
One of the reasons for that lesson is so that everybody could kind of start with like a level playing field of background information. And we're going to do that today with an activity about energy where you guys are going to walk through, the government has a website for kids through the Energy Information Administration, and it's going to give you an overview of what energy is and the different types of resources that are available to make energy. It's also going to help you understand how energy is made, because I think that it would be really awesome if everybody could have a shared understanding of those things. Once you have a very just brief understanding, then I'm going to ask you in your groups to specifically study. Like one group is going to study coal and how we get it and what we use it for. Ouch. These things right here. I am alright.
You just said don't look at my board.
So, types of natural resources used to create energy, where they're found, how we get them, what do we use them for, and what environmental impacts are present as a result of using them. No. So, before we go any further, I want to show you this board over here. I'm really glad we moved that shelf because this gave us a good space to put up our things we learned earlier in the year about the nature of science, because we're going to refer to this quite a bit through this unit. Some of you, I don't think you can see those very well. Does anybody want to explain what you remember about learning the nature of science? And I think I'll give you a hint. We did that through Tricky Tracks.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Adam.
Oh my god, that was perfect.
Can you talk louder?
Our senses
Yeah, we used our senses. What do we use our senses for?
to see what happened and
What's the O word?
observation.
Yeah, we made observations with our senses, that's right. That helped us gather data. What else do you guys remember about nature of science? It's been a little while since we talked about it. Tisha, do you remember what qualitative data is and what quantitative data is? Yeah, that's when we measure things and we get numbers, right? What about qualitative? Yeah, that's when we use our senses and we kind of observe the qualities of something, right? So some other things about nature of science, and this one thing, we did it a ton, but I didn't refer to it as much as I would have liked, is that science is tentative. And do you remember that, where we talked about how the ideas in science change based on new evidence that's gathered? And that's our working claims board and our evidence board that we had over there, where our thoughts about whether or not Ferguson should let Toll Brothers build change as we got more and more evidence. Some of your ideas were solidified with your evidence. So I have a feeling, based on what we're going to be doing right now, that we might, as a class, swing back and forth about our feelings for hydraulic fracturing and whether or not there are better ways to get energy, So this word, we're going to be thinking about this a lot. And I'm just curious to know, what do you think it is? Like when you hear the word energy, what comes to your mind? Kate?
Anything that uses power, like we have energy in our body.
So are you saying the thing that uses power or power? What's the power of your body is energy? What do you say, Ever? Both?
The first thing I think of is probably lights, I guess.
So when you hear energy, you think of lights? How about you, Teddy?
Well, there's kinetic and positive energy. The positive energy is the stuff that's being stored, and when you like punch the air, you're using your kinetic energy.
So you have an awareness of different types of energy. What do you say, Evan? When you hear energy, you think of solar panels?
Wires or electricity.
Wires and electricity. How about you, Tasia? You think of coal when you hear energy? What makes you think of coal when you hear energy?
I don't know about this, but I've always thought electricity somehow relates to coal.
Oh, you're saying like you relate electricity and coal together. You don't know a lot about it though. Okay. Go ahead, Cody.
I kind of think of heat.
You think of eating?
Heat.
Oh, heat. Well, the eating part wouldn't be wrong.
Eating carbohydrates.
Yeah. But you think of heat when you think of energy. One more. Go ahead,
I
Andrew.
really think of like running an activity because what I was saying, like save your energy or
Awesome. Well, I think that you all have really good starting point of an understanding, but I want to, like I said, help you all get kind of into a similar place so we have a foundation to start our discussions about energy and so that we can answer these questions. One more thing about South Africa. You know I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
And each time I've gone, the group that I've been with has specifically studied what's going on in the ecosystems in South Africa and environmental impacts of certain things that happen in South Africa. And this year, my friend is specifically going to be studying should South Africa start to use hydraulic fracturing in their country. So there's none. Their land has not been touched in that way at all. So I thought it would be really cool for us to read about and understand what's happened in our state. Do you all know that that's happening in Pennsylvania? Have you heard that in the news as we've been reading? No? Okay. Well, we're going to read some newspaper articles so that you have an understanding of how it's happening locally and how it's impacting us potentially, how it's happening in the United States, and then it would be really cool, I think, if we could give recommendations to my friend while he's in South Africa with people about should they or shouldn't they. What are your thoughts about that? Do you think we're going to get to a place where you're going to be able to say, no, South Africa, you shouldn't do this, or you should, but here are some things that you should know before you do it? Yeah. Ben says he thinks it would be really cool if we would be able to change somebody's mind over something so huge. I can tell you that 75% of their natural resource consumption for energy is coal.
I think we shouldn't use hydraulic fracturing because it might change the structure of the earth. Because when we saw that little clip on CNN, it showed how it moved around the technology for fracking, and it uses a lot.
So do you think that it would be a fun idea to put our initial feeling about this question if South Africa should do it and kind of some reasons why? So just curious, I'd like to just take a little poll. How many people, your gut reaction right now based on the information that you have available, your feeling is no, they shouldn't use hydraulic fracturing? So 11 of you, how many people aren't sure? You're kind of like a 3 on a scale of 1 to 5, and you could go either way. How many people think that they should do it? They should get rid of their reliance on coal? One. The land alone. What do you say, Teddy?
Because you put too many holes in the earth at the same area, that it will start to split the ground.
2.4 million of them are here.
In the United States. So that would be a lot of methane.
Step once if you can hear me. Step twice. I have, that I'm going to show you tomorrow. I love that you're doing that math, Everett. I'm going to show you a snippet of a video tomorrow that gives the statistics of how much water is pumped in versus how many wells versus with an end of how much water is used, has been used so far. It's going to blow your mind. It blew my mind. Like I had to rewatch it a couple times because the magnitude of the amount of water was just not, like I couldn't even fathom it.
I say yes because they can't just rely on coal for the.
Coal is a lot worse
They
than
can find other ways.
But they can still use other.
Yeah, but none of them
There's
produce
still
enough.
stuff better than.
But I mean, they haven't touched the land yet, so they don't. I mean, they shouldn't put like as much as we have, but they should put not a lot, but they should put a good amount in because.
So are you feeling like they should consider other ways to spread how they're using resources? Are you against doing things like wind and solar?
No, I think that's a good idea too, because they get they're right by the equator, which they should have enough sun to do that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be talking about the cost involved in fracturing wells and mining for coal and drilling for oil and building wind turbines and building solar panels, because there's a cost benefit that has to be considered when you're making decisions about energy. But before we start talking about all this fancy stuff, I need you to understand what energy is and where these natural resources are coming from and where they're found and how we get them and all of that good stuff. Okay? Ben?
The first one is when you're fracking, are you using like drinkable water from the start or not?
That's an awesome question that you're definitely going to get an answer to today.
Yeah.
In case you didn't hear, Ben is wondering when fracking is occurring and they're injecting water to frack the wells, is drinkable water being used to do that?
Learning the price of different oils.
Yeah, we're doing different paragraphs of different parts.
What are you looking up about oil right now?
The prices of oil. And then
In what context? Are you looking up, like, what does a barrel of oil cost? Are you looking up?
Yeah.
So we got it right here.
You might want to consider looking up something about the cost of getting the oil versus what they sell the oil for.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it says $80 per barrel.
What are you doing?
we're writing down how the solar thermal collectors, like what solar power is used for once it's turned into energy, and how the solar power from the sun is turned into heat for our houses.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Is this the outline of your poster?
Yeah. We're doing more.
It's looking pretty awesome.
Thank you.
1.7 million wells in the U.S. And this is a 2015. And this is a 2015.
Costs $7.6 million to drill one well, and we're saying how much money how much wells there are in America.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And we want to know. We want to know to make one well costs that much. Why would you even want to get such an expensive source?